You have headphones.
Yeah, actually, all of this stuff has been gifted to me. Yeah.
How'd you get that? Who gave it to you?
My wife gave it to me.
Just as a
She just,
birthday, Christmas thing?
it was a Christmas thing, and she just like knew that I liked this kind of stuff. And without really knowing anything else, she just was like, "Hey, you should do it." This was a year ago. I've had it for a year and I never used it. So, I mean, I learned a lot actually. Can I still hear you? Yeah. I learned a lot actually about just like resistance. She bought this for me last Christmas, and I took a year of like, I could do it, I could not do it.
Was it more just like the scare, like being scared of starting something where it's like, I could be accepted, people could think I'm dumb, I could be wasting my time, like just the nervousness of it?
It was like, yeah, exactly. I mean, I found this with myself. Like if I think of something, even like calling you today is actually a great example. If I think of something and I do it like immediately, then I don't usually feel like nervous or anything. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is just like happening right now. Like a ball's flying at your face, you just catch it.
Right.
But the more time I put in between, like the more resistance I start to get. I don't know. You ever get that?
One of the biggest selling points for Disney cruises is just not having to make decisions. They make basically everything's planned before you go.
Yeah.
And the most tiring part of a vacation is decision making. So just if you don't have to make decisions, and it's kind of one of those things where same thing on the doors, like if someone goes home early sometimes, all of a sudden they have to start making the decision of, am I going home early or am I staying out? And then it starts like building up and slowing down. They'll end up going home just because they're not being productive anyways.
Yeah, so I've actually thought a lot about that. I was reading a book about peak performance, and it talks about decision fatigue. And it's like, you might have heard of this, like with Zuckerberg, how he always wears the same clothes.
Oh,
like
totally.
Steve Jobs, and they like eat the same breakfast. Even Brigham Lindsay, like literally does the same thing every day.
Yeah, I mean, I can literally tell you what my morning looks like from 7 a.m. all the way until 9 p.m. every single day during the summer. Like, if you ask what time, say, hey, this time of day, I can tell you exactly what I'm doing. I can tell you what time I'm drinking, what time I'm... just because it...
Which is helpful, I think, like... Because for me, I completely agree. Like if I had to make the decision every time, like, okay, am I going to go out on the doors? Like, oh, I'll get myself to do it today. And then the next day comes, you're like, I'll get myself to do it today. But after a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, like if you're making the decision every day, you're not going to last. So I just try to automate like everything except for maybe one or two big things. So I try to wear simple clothes, and like I don't think a lot about what I'm going to do aside from like these big projects. And then I'll put all my energy into that.
Yeah, no, and it's, I'm just thinking about sometimes people, if you want to wake up and go to the gym at 6 before you have to go to work at 8 or 9 or whatever, if all of your clothes are already pre-laid out, if you already, your protein or your pre-workout's already sitting right there, cup of water already filled, like if you can just roll out of bed and just go. It's so much easier than if you have to because you start thinking about all the things you have to do to even go to the gym, and then you end up just sleeping through it. So it's just
exactly. I always try to, like I tell myself that going to the gym is like brushing my teeth. Like I don't like brushing my teeth. I just do it. It's just an instinct. And eventually the instinct became a habit, and now obviously I never miss. It's like not something I think about.
Right.
And so with the gym, I'm like, okay, it's just like 6 o'clock. I don't think about it. I just go. And then when you're there, obviously you want to start thinking about, well, what type of workout and whatever. But just getting myself there, the habit to just go.
I'm even with me, like I show up at the gym, and if I don't have something set, I'll waste so much time like just dinking around, trying to figure out what I want to do, like, or I'll do something like I'll bench, and then I'm like, oh, what do we want to do now? And it's kind of it's super unproductive just because I'm having to make decisions. I'm having to think about things rather than just being able to just kind of move forward,
Yeah, totally. And I think that's why so many people like CrossFit, because it's just like, don't think, come in, we'll do it for you. Or personal trainers. You know,
exactly.
We'll stretch you out, like turn your brain off. You're just the vehicle, and we'll work you out. You just have to bring the body.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting. That's interesting what you said about Disney, though, that they just like do everything for you.
Yeah, they
basically.
And it's just kind of, I mean, sometimes I'm dumb when I go on vacation. I'm like, I don't want to spend $15 on a taxi, on a bus ride. Like they're trying to pull one over on me. So I'll spend a half hour trying to find a cheaper taxi just because I feel like, you know, I'm this guy. They see me as a tourist with money. So they're just trying to take advantage. So it's just, I don't know, I have too much pride, I guess. But
yeah, no, I completely know what you mean. I remember when we went to Dominican Republic, we got totally ripped off. Were you there with us? I know you're in the Dominican Republic.
I was, yeah.
Do you remember when we got ripped off? Like, it was when we did the four-wheeling.
It was the four-wheeling
excursion.
Because Brandon and Corey and all those guys, like, they got... It was way cheaper for them, and we paid like almost double for the exact same thing, and we thought we negotiated it well too.
Yeah, I was so pissed about that, and then like at the end, you know, there's like 10 summer sales bros going at this one little tiny Dominican man, like, where's our $300? And I mean, I feel bad for the guy, but not that bad.
Yeah,
he ripped us off.
Right. I'd forgotten about that, but.
It's just more, it's honestly, I think, a pride thing, at least for me. Like,
especially having been in sales, you want to feel like you got the best deal because...
Yeah, you don't want to feel like you lost. Like, that, for whatever reason, it feels like a competition. Like, when I went to buy my car, the salesmen were like, you know, you can kind of feel like they're giving me fake urgency, and they're like...
this car could be gone. Like, you never know. This car's got a lot of people have been looking at it. Like,
trust me, it's gone tomorrow.
Yeah, like you can go home and sleep on it, but it's just, you know,
I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where, just good old salespeople.
And even if it was true,
and if it's gone, it's gone. Like if it's the car of your dreams, buy it right then. But if it's just a good car, like there are other good cars.
I think for me, it's like if it's the car of your dreams, you should do a bunch of research before you go, then go in and just buy it. But like, don't waste time like going back and forth. Like with this car, the car I have now, I talked to him, we negotiated, I left. He called me the next day. I like played the whole game. I called him the next day back. I ended up negotiating the price down quite a bit, but it was like such a hassle and such a pain. I'm like, never want to do that again.
Yeah, dude. Salespeople are fun sometimes, and sometimes they're not.
It's kind of fun when I meet a salesperson that I think is really good. I really enjoy it, even though they're selling to me. It's kind of like theater, you know.
Well, I literally I get telemarketing calls like, oh, vacation this, vacation that, and I like most of the time I'll talk to them for a minute and I'll just, hey, not interested, and then I'll just like end up hanging up just because I can. But there's one guy I was like running into a meeting and I was like, hey, like what's a number I can call back? I don't enjoy, the only reason I'm listening to you is because you're good at this. And it's like, and I enjoy, but that's the thing, like a lot of people think like good salespeople are, you know, people who are trying to convince you to buy something or somebody who's pushy. Like if somebody can see that you're trying to sell them something and then they're like, yeah, you're good at sales, but you're not going to get me, like, you can take that as a compliment. But if you were really good at sales, people wouldn't feel like they're actually getting sold at all.
Right.
You know, it just feels natural. It feels...
I totally agree. Like getting that, like, hey, you're a really good salesman. It's kind of a slap in the face. It's like someone saying you're a really good actor when they weren't supposed to know you were acting. You know?
Yeah.
It's like if I'm gonna turn this off so it doesn't keep making noise.
You're okay.
If you exactly. If you really were a good salesman, not just that they wouldn't, maybe they'd buy or not. I mean, maybe they don't want the product, but the other thing is they wouldn't feel like they were being sold to.
Exactly.
It would just like
be
a normal interaction.
If really good salespeople make it, when people buy from people who are really good at sales, it feels like they feel like they made all the decisions and it made sense and they're being 100% logical about it, and they would have bought just because they, it's something that they ended up wanting. But it's like, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
But you didn't see all the things going on behind the scenes that helped you to think that way. So it's just kind of...
I've thought about that a lot, actually. Even like with marketing, Like when someone has a really flashy marketing campaign, you're like, oh, look, they're doing marketing. Like, oh, they have like a big blow up doll in the front, or like a T-Rex. You see that at like car dealerships or something. But the marketing that actually works is the marketing that you didn't realize they were doing. It's like, why do I have Coke in my hand? It's like, oh, because I don't know. I guess I grew up with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were marketed to and you had no idea. It's like
Exactly.
you've been thinking Coke was this homey, happy relationship brand your whole life, and you never even woke up to realize that you were being marketed to.
Exactly. So yeah, just crazy stuff there. It's really interesting how much like we aren't in control of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we think that we make our own decisions, but I was actually in one of my classes, I was reading about this. It was about managers who, if you talk to your employee, like if you talk down to them, kind of like, hey, I'm in control, you're not, or like if you a parent talking to a kid, if you talk to them like a kid, they respond like a kid, or they respond like an disgruntled employee or whatever. You know, so it's disgruntled employee makes it sound like they're, about to do something. But but as soon as you start treating that child like an adult, they respond like an adult. So it's kind of the reaction from the child actually isn't really in control of it. It's the person who addresses the kid. Yeah. So it's really interesting, like, and with sales or with really anything in life, it's really interesting how little control we actually have. Like we think that we're in control of ourselves, but I mean, if you're driving down the street and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off and it, really starts you start getting agitated and upset, you're feeling for the day, like your drive home was ruined because somebody cut you off. But what really happened? Right.
You're a product of your environment and not the other way around.
And so there's, you can react to the world. Like there are people who react. Like if somebody's really trying to fit in, they'll do all these things. They'll buy nice clothes. They'll do all these things that try to appear cool because their value in life is other people, how they look at them. But the problem is you can't control any of that. And then there are people who react to life, and then there are people who act and life reacts.
I completely agree. I think about that all the time. It's like, did I make this decision? Am I in this relationship, in this place, in this job because I want to be, or because something influenced me that's beyond me to make this decision? In which case I'm living someone else's life. Yeah. Like I think about that all the time. Like, am I dressed like this because I feel good and it makes me comfortable? Or am I dressed like this because I saw the cool kids wearing it? Right. In which case I'm living their opinion.
Why do whenever I'm looking on like Facebook Marketplace, like for sales or thing, I see Supreme shoes, or I see a Louis Vuitton
for
bag,
like
or not Supreme
so
shoes,
much.
But or I see, something, a Gucci belt, and I'll click on it just to see how much it is, and it's like, why do I want a Gucci belt and Gucci shoes? Yeah. I don't like.
Right. Totally.
I really shouldn't, at least.
Especially because that's built on like a perception of value. Like I get it if you want to spend a lot of money on something that you get value from. Like you have a Tesla, right? Yeah. A Tesla, it's like, well, okay, it's an awesome car. I mean, I don't know a lot about Teslas. I'm sure you know more, but it's like, it's environmentally friendly. It's really cool, as well as just a great car, and it costs a lot of money.
And it's the safest car in the world, right? But there's
it's also a cause, kind of,
Yeah, I mean, there's debates about whether Teslas are really better for the environment,
right? But it's valuable to you, and so the money, it's not just like, it's not a Gucci belt where you're like, well, I'm just spending money to make up value. You're actually finding value, and you're giving money to something you really see value in.
And I ran the numbers on it. Like I was going to get a different car, but then you start total cost of ownership. The other car was going to be more expensive to maintain, plus gas, plus oil changes, like all that. Well, Tesla does, so.
And even if they were the same, like Tesla brings value to it. It's not just like price. Yeah. Like Tesla is cool and like it's really technologically advanced.
Plus there is a little bit of a factor, with my job with sales, like you're pitching people on success when you're trying to get other people to sell. And it's like, it's really hard to say, hey, come be successful, come make a ton of money. And you drive away in a 1998
Honda Accord.
With the bumper falling off. Exactly.
Like I'm not successful, but trust me, you'll be successful if you do what I do.
So many people, like I've literally seen people buy Lamborghinis just so that way other people view them as successful, because all of a sudden he just bought a Lambo. Totally. Like, what are you doing for investments? Oh, let me help you.
Especially if you're like if you're a real estate agent or like an investor or a recruiter of some kind. It's way smart, in my opinion. I think that's value. You know,
a lot of companies will say, hey, you literally need to buy a new car, or they'll provide you with a car just because of no one's going to buy anything from you unless you have this certain way of being. You give off this certain lifestyle.
I think that's one of the most interesting things, actually, is that like a lot of times we buy things because they symbolize value or success or something like that. Like, for example, there's a bunch of videos like this. Have you seen that video that's like the lady who plays like the violin by the subway, and she's like the number one best violinist in the world, and people pay like $5,000 to go to her show. But she goes in the subway and plays the exact same music, pretending to be like a bum, and like no one even stops, no one even listens.
She might get a few bucks here and there, but it's all because of the presentation, or because it's a show. If there's a show in Vegas, I'll go see that show in Vegas and I'll pay big bucks. But if that show's in my hometown, half the cost, I might not even care about it.
Which is funny, because if you really break it down, you're like, well, where's the extra value coming in? And the value's in your own mind.
Is there anything specific that you're wanting to talk about?
No.
Okay.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
This is what I like. Honestly,
just freestyle.
I've listened to so many podcasts that I feel are like kind of forced. You know, where
we have a topic, like we're going off topic, so let's bring it back. You know? And it's like,
I hate that. I mean, I get it. Like, that just feels a little too like MTV Awards, you know, where they're like, so like, how's your new album? And like,
my new album that drops on November 29th.
Like, I'm so glad you look. And they like have a copy of it.
I happen to, exactly. And there happens to be one under every seat in the audience.
Or like,
whatever.
I was watching Conan, I think, and it was Andy. Do you watch The Office?
Of course. Yeah, I do. I watch The Office.
Actually, I remember talking about this because you were saying everyone named Andy is like dumb. Like an idiot.
If there's ever a person named Andy, any movie, any TV series, there's the big Office, Parks and Rec. Like, even in just no-name or smaller movies or just random movies, if the guy's name's Andy, he's an idiot.
Or that's actually true, and I feel for you. You're oppressed.
I'm just living this terrible life because of my name.
That's so funny. I remember Andy was on Conan, and Conan was like, "Oh, I heard that you like are really good at scatting, and you can scat to like any song." And he's like, "Yeah, I can." Like, well, can you do this song? And then he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And like, there's a guitar behind the couch. And I'm like, okay, you already knew what song it was. You have a guitar here. Like the flute comes out of his sleeve or whatever. He starts playing. Okay. So I personally like I feel like you get a lot of value from just hearing people's creativity like in real time. And that's why I've liked doing this podcast, because people talk about things that you wouldn't normally think of.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I forgot to set the timer. I've only been doing it for like 2 minutes, though.
You're okay.
Let's do I'll chop a couple minutes off. Cool.
But yeah, I mean, what, when you're looking for just for people to talk to, kind of what makes you choose, hey, I want to talk with you? Is it just because, hey, I know you? Or, I mean, I'm good at sales, so like I get that.
Right. Usually the kind of things I look for are, number one, easy to talk to. Because it's like really awkward, even if someone is like a baller and I'm trying to like, pull info out of them. So easy to talk to. The second one I would say is like their identity is tied up in some form of like success, and not necessarily that they are successful. But I really like to talk to people that like they see themselves as successful in some way. because they usually have really interesting things to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is probably just like, I like people that it feels like they're creative, that like you talk to them and you don't necessarily know what they're going to talk about, you know? So.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was thinking about like, I was thinking about different stuff beforehand, and I was like, oh, I don't know what Reed's gonna ask me about.
Yeah.
And one thing that I don't know, there are just some different things that just kind of like I've just kind of been thinking about. I've been kind of creating a vision board as of late.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think of like, okay, what am I trying to get in life? What are these next things? And like some things are some things are easy. Like, okay, I want these investments. I want to be making this much a year. But I don't know. It's interesting because there are some things like I try to think of what makes somebody successful or like why are some people successful, and people are like, what are you doing different, Andy? Like, what do you, because I'm decent at sales and I'm just trying to figure out like, and people are like, oh, like what are you doing that's so much different or whatever.
What's the secret? Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes it's just hard work, but one of my biggest pet peeves, and this is actually something I've been thinking a lot about, one of my biggest pet peeves is people who like want the promised, benefits of like doing a hard job, like, summer sales, but then they're not willing to put in any work for it, or they're just wanting to be lazy.
I hate that.
And so one thing that in a lot of books that I'm just kind of realizing, it's like the hard path to the easy life. Some people, like, you can have it, you're gonna have it hard one way or the other. So some people choose to like take it easy now. But the people who take it easy, like, who have to work until they're 65, who have to work till they're 70, who have to worry about each paycheck or, not losing, like, the people who take it easy have harder lives.
Ends up harder.
Than the people who had really hard lives to have an easy life.
Totally.
So it's kind of,
I completely agree.
It's kind of interesting, just, because it's like, if you really want to take it easy, then work hard.
You're going to have to pay for it in one or two things. It's either like you're going to pay for it with work, or you're going to pay for it with like pain or regret. And you can use that for anything. Like, look at health. It's hard to get up and go to the gym every day. It's hard to like count your calories or whatever.
Yeah.
But is that harder than being way overweight or having knee problems or having, high cholesterol or whatever?
Right.
Or
and
like
plus,
age.
How do you feel like when you're not going to the gym, if you're not doing anything to better yourself, like, how do you feel? You just kind of feel like meh. And
I
it's
completely
like,
agree,
and dieting, like, people say dieting sucks, but it's like, after everyone does a successful diet, or after, people are losing weight, like, they feel better, and they sacrifice a lot, but they're better off because of it.
And it doesn't, in my opinion, it usually isn't even like that comparable. It's like usually the pain of not doing something is huge.
Yeah.
And then the pain of like preventing it, the pain of working out, in my opinion, is like, it sucks, but it's tiny compared to the pain of being unhealthy. It's like nonstop.
Right.
Being unhealthy is like your whole life.
And it's kind, and that really applies to everything. Like, on a spiritual level, some people are too lazy to go, either go to the temple, read the scripture, say their prayers, like, insert whatever. Yeah. But it's like, it's a whole cost versus, benefit. I hate running. And sometimes it's hard to like get myself to want to run. Yeah. But it's like, if I go run a mile, let's say I run an 8-minute mile. Yeah, that was hard, but I feel so much better for the rest of my day. Like, if you run a 5K in the morning, like, you took out a chunk of your day, like, but not a huge chunk, but your whole day feels better. You feel accomplished. Like, it's one of those things where, but if you're sitting on the couch the whole day and you don't do anything, that day, at the end of the day, it was lazier. It required less work, but what day actually was a better day, or you kind of get what I'm saying? Totally. Somebody weighs 400 pounds. They do a diet. They drop to 250 pounds, a year or two later. Yeah. And they're like, that required a lot of me, but my life is, even though I had to do a lot of hard things to get where I'm at, it's easier now because I did those hard things.
Oh, totally. And it's like, that decision should be a lot easier. I think it's hard because like your psychology doesn't weigh those two things equally.
Oh, totally.
Because you're like, oh, it's 6 a.m. I don't want to go run. Like that sounds like the worst thing right now. But if you really could have the perspective to see how much more benefit you get from the small amount of pain, then it would be an easy choice every time.
Well, not only as humans, but just in nature in general. Like water goes to the lowest point.
Yeah.
It doesn't fight across. Humans will just do whatever's easiest just to get by.
And I even take that like a step further, that we even think to the easiest point. Like, not only will we not do what's hard, even though we know it'll be better, we'll like not even think things are possible because they're hard. Because I think, like you said, like your brain just naturally wants safety, it wants security, it wants comfort in the short term at the expense of those things in the long term. And so like we won't even people won't even think that they could start a business, for example, because they're like, oh, I wouldn't want to think that because that's so silly, because it's not safe, it's not comfortable.
I think given like comfort and safety, those are definitely good things.
Right, totally.
But sometimes we overvalue, like
especially short term.
Being able to, like, for me, one of the things I struggle with is budgeting. Like I can't, and you can say, well, just find a way to make more money and you don't have to worry about a budget. And it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. But like if you, maybe budgeting isn't a great example, but it's
investing for sure.
Investing, because all of a sudden you don't have this nest egg of $20,000, $50,000 sitting in the bank, and you're just that's a nice nest egg. It gives you a lot of security, and then you invest it in investment could go bad or whatever, but it could also blow up. Like so many people think the way to live life is work till you're 65, put money in your Roth and your IRA, and then
hope for the best. Hopefully there's not another economic downturn.
Right, but it's one of those things where I think like that is a very, like, people say that's the right way to do things, but then you have people who are retiring at age 30, and they didn't, and you don't even have to do anything too crazy. Like, you have to be smart about things. You have to, but the people who retire at age 30, you're like, oh, dude, that guy hasn't made.
He's so lucky.
He's so lucky. Like he, he hit it big with one thing, or like, I wish I could be like him. I'm stuck at my 9 to 5 or whatever. But it's like, you don't focus on what got them there. The same thing with like professional athletes. It's like, dang, I wish I could sign $100 million contract. But it's like, and maybe it's a little different because I can't control how tall I am or my genetics. But it's like, to a point, there are people who could have had that had they put in the work for it.
Absolutely. Especially when you get into the realm of like business and finance. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of, you could start a business and hit it big and be a billionaire. But I mean, you could even just be a little bit more disciplined and be financially free in your 40s, even if you don't have a great job. But like, people don't have that long-term thinking. They don't have that discipline. So they end up, I know people that are working in their 70s. They're just like,
there are some jobs where, you see 70-year-olds working for minimum wage, and it's not that, like, they don't want to be working. But it's just they didn't make the decisions before, so that way they wouldn't. And given there are going to be some extenuating circumstances, a flood happened and ruined their house.
Totally.
In Houston, the hurricane a few years ago, and all of a sudden you're just in this really crappy situation. But the whole thing kind of wraps back around of what you get in the future is what you do now. And it's like, if you want to retire by the time you're 40, like, you don't just all of a sudden get there. Like, some people do, but most of the time you don't just all of a sudden end up like, oh, hey, I can retire. No, you kind of have to plan it out and say, what am I doing now? What am I doing today, this week, this month, this year? How am I putting my life in the direction so that way I can do something like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of, and I think a lot of that is having goals or having visions, and just, if you know you want to be somewhere different and you just take off in a car, and you just start driving, like, oh, where are you going? Like, I don't know. I'm just going.
Just
like
going.
So many people just do that with life, and you're just, you never get it, the whole Alice in Wonderland. Oh, which path should I take? It depends on where you want to go.
Yeah.
I don't know where I want to go. Then it doesn't matter what path you're taking.
Yeah. At least choose.
Yeah. Like choose what you want. And, and who am I to even be saying like, choose what you want? But it's just, just from like my own personal experiences, and given there are plenty of things that I can be doing better, and I should be doing better.
Right.
But oftentimes we just think too much about the here and now, the comfort, the the security, I don't want other people to think this of me.
Yeah.
And we actually make irrational decisions just because we don't know what we really want.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And this may be kind of a cheesy thing to say. Have you known someone who's died in your life? Even like a grandma or anything?
Yeah, like I've known people who've died. Yeah, but yeah, okay.
This is something I had heard before, knowing someone who died, but I remember my grandma died like 10 years ago, so it wasn't something super sad. It's like she was old.
Because you weren't super tight with her, it was her time to go.
Yeah, it was her time to go, and she was older and everything. But I've known people who have died as I've gotten older, and I think back, and it really does give you that perspective that people talk about. Or it's like, I can't believe I lived my life trying to impress my next door neighbor, or I lived my life trying to seek comfort, or trying to be cool or whatever, not chasing what it is I really want. Because when someone dies, you're like, wow, they have nothing that they can still do. Like all those things that they did, all those worries and insecurities, it's just gone. Like they could have been happy this whole time. And I don't know, it just gives me a weird perspective when I think about that. Like if I died today, would I really be that happy with like all the chances I took and all the like work I put in and the difference I made? Or was I kind of coasting and just trying to be comfortable? I don't know.
And sometimes people think like, oh, you know what? Like I'm already working really hard. I'm already, working 9 to 5. Like I went to school. I'm trying to pick up after hours. I've got kids and stuff. But it's like, I mean, there are still ways to better yourself rather than just listening to music. You can listen to a podcast that helps with mindset or whatever, or
a book.
Yeah, and maybe that's not even necessarily the point of things, but it's just kind of it is kind of interesting because I've heard like I think I might have heard this on like an Ed Milet thing, but it was like hell is not like you don't get hell is dying and meeting the person who you could have become, like the best version of you. Had you done those things, had you not been lazy, had you, and imagine being this, normal dude, like nothing's wrong with you. Yeah. You could have even been like considered a good person. You could have been successful in some ways. You could even be viewed as very successful. And then you meet this multi-billionaire who was supposed to be, who saved Africa himself, but
totally.
It's just kind of like sometimes we think I think one of the biggest things that we miss is complacency and just like kind of being okay with where we're at.
You're good. Yeah, I got a couple minutes.
So I don't know, and that's just kind of that's one of the things that just kind of keeps coming up, like in my own mind, or when I'm always asking people like. When people, like, what do you do different with sales? And I'm like, I just kind of explain my mindset and how I'm viewing different things. And people are like, yeah. I remember talking to one guy, like he said he did like 230 pest accounts, which is really good this last summer. And I said, okay, what's holding you back from 500?
Yeah.
And he said, it's because I still want to have my summer. I don't want to feel like my whole summer is just work. I want to be able to enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure I could if I just... But I just don't, necessarily want that. And I was like, dang, like what a waste of potential. Like what a,
Yeah.
imagine how much more fun you could have making
with double the money,
twice as much money of already really good money.
And you're already sacrificing your summer. He's already out there. You might as well.
How much, what better quality of life really is there? Like people who take it easy say, yeah, but I have a higher quality of life. It's like, but do you?
Yeah. I always think about, P90X,
yeah,
like the workout.
Uh-huh.
I remember watching their ads, and it was like, in 90 days, look how shredded this person is. And I always think, like, what was I doing 90 days ago? Mm-hmm. If I would have started that 90 days ago, I could be shredded today.
Yeah.
And it's that same kind of thing. Like, if I would have had good habits until now, I could be richer and stronger and like have better relationships and whatever it is that you want, have more money. But I need to make those decisions now so that in the future I can be that person.
You think, oh wow, I wish I had a Corvette or I wish I had a Lamborghini, and it's like, I mean, if you want a Lamborghini, it starts now. It doesn't start. You don't right. Like if you look back, if you're looking back, or you see somebody who has one, you're jealous. It's like, yeah, but you didn't see.
No.
How they got there.
You didn't see the...
And sometimes there is luck. Sometimes there is, connections that just your parents were successful, therefore you have some different connections. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the times, like, we look at the, once again, going back to the pro athletes, we look at these $100 million contracts, but then you get the Kobe Bryants waking up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You get the,
I mean, all those guys. It's like, even the scrub on the bench who has never played a minute in the NBA. That guy was the best player in his high school, and he was at the gym every morning. Uh-huh. He was the best player in college, and he's played all summer just to be the worst guy in the NBA. Think about the best guys. Like, they're sacrificing a lot.
And so, so I think just kind of, to sum it up into one sentence is you're making sacrifices either way. You can either sacrifice now or later. If you sacrifice if you make a sacrifice now, you'll have things a lot easier and better off later, or you can have things a lot easier, lazier, better off now. But because that you're sacrificing, you have so much less to show for everything you did.